Hey, welcome to this episode of the Clubhouse with Austin and David, and our very special and first guest on the podcast, Kyle.
Ep- Episode 2 guest.
Yes, we're already running out of ideas, and we have to start bringing in new characters in season two. So, do you want to tell our loyal listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for those of you who don't know me, anyone not at our store, I'm Kyle. I play a lot of Standard and GLC. I have no results to speak of in either, but play a lot. Uh, Play a lot of Charizard in Standard, play a lot of Fire in GLC. That should tell you enough about me. I'm very interested in being here today to discuss kind of the nature of GLC, not necessarily the meta, but talking about future cards and where the meta is shifting and why. I think the theory of the game is a lot more interesting than just like optimizing a list.
Do you have any other names or notable decks you've built?
Uh, I my like username I'm like trying to shift to for like usernames is Scallion. So I'm in a lot of Discords of Scallion, Cardboard Warriors, Turbo Blaze. Um, some people know me by that, but some people also know my fire deck that I co-created with Turbo Blaze Spence, Swamp Fire. Famously, the best way to play the worst type in GLC. If you like oxymorons, competitive fire is Swamp Fire. That's the only deck that's worth playing. I have
You don't think Blaziken clears?
I think Swampfire is far more consistent and has like a stable plan into the meta. The other deck I made is Phoenix Fire, which is really a volatile combo heavy deck, but uh, if you get comfortable with it, it's very fun and you have a lot of agency to disrupt and board wipe. Uh, the consistency of it is very unreliable, though. I think that's
Facts.
something I really like thinking about when deck building, and something you talked about previously in a small unreleased podcast only to loyal followers about consistency versus
in a
power.
in a voice note
Yeah.
in our local chat, in our locals Discord.
Consistency versus power is a really interesting discussion because I think you nailed it fairly appropriately, but I think uh, something that's left out in that conversation is kind of specific to fire, but that like the more you try to make fire consistent, the more power pieces you start losing, and the more you kind of just are a bad deck. I talked
Yeah.
about this with another fire player in our locals, but like if you want to play fire, you kind of have to steer into the volatility and just accept you're gonna brick. Run the power cards. You're gonna run like 2 or 3 stage twos, and it's gonna feel bad. Like you're not gonna be that competitive, but you get comfortable enough with it, you're gonna be able to get your Charizard or your Skeledirge out every game and still be very, very in games that like a lot of people wouldn't expect you to be. So that's my 2 cents on
Yeah.
consistency versus power.
Yeah, like I think of Psychic as a deck that can like sacrifice a little like I always think of Psychic Pokemon as like not doing that much damage, I guess prior to Boulder. Um, but they are just so consistent that they like kind of
Yeah, yeah.
can afford more
There's like
to
a
sacrifice a little.
there's like a graph of like consistency and power, and you kind of have to like be somewhere on the middle line and be able to be consistent enough. But you're consistent enough, but hitting for 20 every turn, it's not doing anything.
Facts, facts.
What's on the docket today,
Well,
Austin?
welcome, Kyle.
Yeah, so we kind of have a loaded agenda. We might not get to all of it, but the first thing is we want to talk about some of the new cards that are being revealed as a part of this new set. I believe the English name is Perfect Order,
Perfect order.
which is kind of a it's kind of like an auralist name if I'm gonna be honest.
Me, me buying the Pokemon Center ETB.
You did?
Perfect order.
I don't know. We're just in this like flow of adjective noun, and it's just
Yeah. There was something the other day that was like worded exactly like a Pokemon Center. I forget what it was, but it was just so on brand that I was like,
yeah. You kind of just know the feel of
yeah.
it when you see an adjective and a noun. They're like really kind of edgy.
Some of these also might still be in the mini set. So not some of these might come out earlier.
Yeah,
I could be wrong about this.
I think
I don't think we totally know.
it's not been super clear. So I think the big
They'll,
question mark that a lot of people are having is specifically around Pokepad, which I think is out of order, but it's probably the best place to start. Pokepad is like released or announced way before all these other cards. And I think that it might be one of the most discussed cards, definitely in GLC in a long time. Um, but in standard,
yeah, and like standard too.
it's very playable. So I guess let me pull up the wording on it for our
Do we know
viewers.
Ultra Ball's rotating too?
No,
I
Ultra Ball
think
will be still in standard.
We're keeping Ultra Ball,
Yeah.
but we are losing Nest Ball.
Yes. We're losing
Okay,
Nest.
okay.
We're losing Artisan.
Yeah.
Um, there's some other like consistency cards that I was looking at that we're losing.
Buddy Buddy stays.
Yes, Buddy Buddy stays.
That's like the first set that stays. Yeah,
Mhm.
the first H set. Yeah.
So
I mean, I think like Ultra Ball and Pokepad sounds like a pretty like that could be 8 cards in your deck, the same way like Nest Ball and Ultra Ball kind of are now.
yeah. So Pokepad is search your deck for a Pokemon that doesn't have a rule box, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So in GLC, that's just search for a Pokemon and put it in your hand, which is
Master Ball.
absolutely insane. But in standard, it has like a lot more nuance. Of course, like it's somewhat better than Nest Ball because it does go to hand, so you have like a lot more flexibility in what you can do. Because there's cards like Luminion and Hunkaboo from Evolving Skies who had that from hand restriction, which means that you couldn't like nest ball them out. And I feel like a lot of new players
Right,
like
right.
nest balled those out and was like trying to trigger their abilities
Classic.
and just could not.
Yeah.
Um, but Pokepad is an interesting
It,
point.
like it always is to hand.
Yeah, I think like
That's so nice.
the really interesting thing about Pokepad is that whenever rotation happens, which talking about rotation is like way ahead of it. But like
Yeah.
looking at what we're gonna have afterwards, it seems like it's gonna be a lot of these rule box decks duking it out. And the only deck that I'm thinking of that's really gonna be utilizing this is Dragapult. Because it's gonna be
yeah,
just an easy way for you to tutor out those Drakloaks and Treepies. You're
that was
probably
kind of the first thing I'm thinking of when I see Pokepad. Rotation is a ways out. A lot of decks could show up in that time, but we already have Dragapult. Most of it isn't rotating, and Pokepad's just the first card we're looking at. That's just a strict upgrade to guarantee their way into Dracloak and start recon directing right away, which is a lot of people's main problem with the deck. You can do all the setup in the world, but do as long as you want. But if you never see a Dracloak, you feel bad. This solves that problem right away.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that Dragapult is losing TM Evo, which is
Uh,
pretty
you're
big, but it's
most
not using it at the
most
same
aren't
rate.
running that. It's gonna be Iono, Counter Catcher, and Luminous Energy.
Okay.
Which Luminous Energy is not the biggest hit. Like it's gonna be a lot more difficult for them to Monkey Dory. But the core of the deck's still intact. Iono and Counter Catcher definitely bigger hits. But if you ask me, I think Dragapult would be fine just throwing Judge at you. And Counter Catcher, you can't really replace that. But that kind of just brings them back down to normal power level.
Do you think people are going to be judging each
Crystal.
other post rotation? Because I guess a big elephant in the room, or the big discussion, at least on Twitter, is that once rotation happens, and Iono, if we don't get an equivalent of it in the same way we did with Marnie or N, then there's no real disruption in the format in the same way we would have for essentially the last 3, 4 years, at least like post COVID, we've always had like some kind of way to shuffle your opponent's hand to the bottom of their deck. And
Yeah,
this
I
will be the first time
Originally.
since Sword and Shield base where we haven't had something like that.
I think we'd be living in a crazy timeline if people weren't running Judge. Now, whether or not the decks that are running for Iono are going to run for Judge, probably not going to happen. It might, but there's no way we're going to play this game with your opponent pressing Recon Directive or Soul Rock Lunatone every turn and not wanting to hand disrupt them at least once.
Yeah, it's hard enough versus fighting GLC to stop their hands, but like we do lose Dango altogether.
Hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see like what kind of decks pick up the rocks. Maybe it'll be like Ceruledge rocks kind of filling the role.
For sure.
Yeah,
But
we're also losing
Pokebag goes
Squawk.
crazy in GLC. Oh, no Squawk.
Yeah, no
Uh,
Squawk.
like Drillbur low key too, right?
Squawk's
Um,
always kind of been a bum, but
Don't quote me on
we're always gonna have
that.
some Squawkabilly replacement, and I think we'll talk about the Squawkabilly replacement soon.
Facts, facts.
any other Pokepad thoughts? We've talked about it a
I'm
lot
excited
in
for
Standard. I don't know if we've talked about the GLC
yeah.
impacts.
It's
I'm excited
yeah,
for it.
it's a
I think it's
guaranteed
gonna make
include in every GLC deck. I think the one complaint that people are gonna have is it's not part of Ball Guy, but what are you gonna do?
yeah, neither is Evo Incense, and that's a well played card for sure. I mean, this is like Master Ball
Hmm.
in GLC. It's crazy. It goes straight to hand, so it'll work with all your like bench drop effects or your discard effects. Um, Quick Ball and like stuff like that are so valuable just for like getting some of that stuff to hand. Um, I think it's gonna like speed up the format a little bit. Like I think everyone's gonna get more consistent, which I think is a good thing for GLC because standard you can really min max to like uh, your like playable hand starting hand rate, you know. But in GLC it's like a little bit harder to deal with prizing, especially, but just to like have a super playable hand at the start while also being able to play like a full six prize game. So
Yeah,
I'm excited for a boost to like all type consistency.
yeah, and to that note too, I think there's an interesting conversation with Pokepag about cutting Evo incense for Pokepag as a matter of consistency in decks that are only running one or two stage one Evo lines, where you'd rather see a Pokepag than the Evo instance in your starting hand. And if you want to be greedy, you have the option. Whether or not it's going to be good to say, but it's another card that does two things.
Did you ever cut Ultra Ball?
I I actually do.
Because Ultra Ball is like a Master Ball too, but
I
you have to discard two every time
I like
in a
cutting
singleton
Ultra
format.
Ball in decks that don't that can't afford to Ultra Ball resources. That being said, I don't end up doing it a lot because Ultra Ball is a really good card, but sometimes you can't afford to use it.
Yeah, whenever this card came out in our local server, there was a lot of discourse on like what everybody knew this was an upgrade of something, but nobody could agree on what this was an upgrade of in the same way people all agreed that Lilies is an upgrade of Cynthia. I think there was a lot of people saying you should cut Evo Incense or like other balls type search. I think it's interesting in that way, where it
I
doesn't feel
I
like a
have
straight
such a
upgrade of anything.
weird I have such a weird relationship with like TCG players and needing a comparison. You see it a lot with archetypes and
Yeah,
cards. Like it doesn't have to be the same thing. It doesn't have to be an upgrade or a downgrade. It can just be this like weird rebalancing. And we have a ball guy and apricot maker, and we're talking about some decks running both of them at this point. And yeah, ball guy is a strict upgrade, but uh, we can just have different things.
yeah, I totally agree. And I think some decks like in kind of subtle ways are like built a little differently. Like the way they access, like the way it is most optimal for them to access the deck is kind of like
Right. Yeah, I
a not. It's kind of nuanced when you have literally 60 slots to fill with
Yeah,
gloves.
that's kind of what I was talking about with Ultra Ball earlier too. Some decks are more than willing to just Ultra Ball away half the cards in their deck. Some decks need every single card to function appropriately in certain spots. So yeah, like if you're a Psychic deck, go ahead and run that Ultra Ball, discard 2 Psychic energy. But I don't want to do that in my Water deck or my Grass deck.
Keen, keen.
I think another aspect of that is whenever there's a card like this, they think of finding cuts within the equivalents. Whenever if you look at like the deck holistically, you might be able to find like supporters or like items that are not in that might be getting you a couple extra percentage points of wins on the fringes. But with something like Pokepad, if you replace it by adding that consistency boost as well as also maintaining like an Evo Incense or an Ultra Ball, you might be getting more wins on aggregate from this inclusion as opposed to whatever your
Yeah.
pet supporter is.
Yeah, like for example, I think Pokepad's going to be best in like a fire deck, for example, or a grass deck. Like, I think they're going to benefit the best because it's just like in their own ways that they couldn't before, they now have just like better access
Yeah,
to that like extra consistency that,
I would
for example, Psychic like overflows with.
I would completely agree with that, and I would say to the opposite point of that, like a colorless, they're gonna run Pokepad, but they don't need to. They'll probably actually cut another ball search in favor of Pokepad, maybe, but they're already gonna fan
Yeah,
call half their Pokemon, Winona.
right, right.
Most of the time, we're only running Ultra Ball just to guarantee a Bibarel, so.
Yeah. Yeah, like I imagine a lot of them don't play Soda anymore.
Hmm.
That's like when I was playing Dark, I wanted Evo Incense, Evo Soda, and Timer Ball just to get Liepard out, basically.
Sometimes something's just that important. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's where Pokepad's just really good. You don't have to choose. You can draw it at any point in the game, and it's going to be good for something.
Yeah. As well, I think perhaps in the mini set, in the special set, we are getting Rayquaza, which people have talked about for the Dragon GLC deck. For 2 energy and I believe 1 fire, 1 colorless, uh, maybe 1 lightning, 1 colorless.
One lightning, one colorless.
Uh, if it moves to the active, it will swing for 110. I think it's 20 plus 90 um, if you make the switch. So this is like extra kind of low maintenance attack for dragon. Type that's switching a lot. They're rocking air balloons, they're rocking float stones, a lot of them turbo blazing. Um, but even still, I feel like these kinds of cards just succeed by their nature, even if you're like, they're just so low maintenance.
Yeah, this is one of those subtle cards that doesn't really pop out of the list, doesn't really appear to move the needle, but it's so consistently useful in a number of spots, especially with a deck with a built-in snipe Pokemon that it's kind of very, very solidly fitting into the cast.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's just a generically good attack to have.
Bonk you on the head.
Yeah, I guess it's just like another option. It seems like
And then it's
every
like
type
130 for 3.
can donk at this point. Or like donk off of Goose Hala almost specifically, and this is just another option for that. Probably more consistent than Dragon's current. The Raging Bull, I believe you can do it straight off of Goose Hala, but it has like a lower damage.
Yeah, Guzmahala or Crispin, and I guess the same argument can be made with Rayquaza to a lesser extent, but more damage, which is really kind of gross. Double Dragon Energy gives them a lot of options.
It's cool to have a type that really like benefits from all these basic energy excels that like I think most other types kind of aside from Raihan like have to kind of ignore like Crispin and stuff like even Mela doesn't always get played. Um, but Dragon really, really benefits from these kinds of cards, and
Yeah,
yeah,
remove from the game. Dragon as an archetype of just like Pokemon is like really cool right now. You know, water is your rain dance, grass is your evolution type deck, metal is your tank. Dragon just being this crazy toolbox of big things that's gonna hit you really hard. Pretty satisfying, unless you're
yeah,
playing against it. But
it kind of feels like you're fighting like 6 legendary Pokemon in a
for
row.
sure, for sure.
It's cool for that. Like it feels like a final boss in a way. No, I totally agree. Okay, for sure though, coming out in perfect order is Barbaracle. Uh, this is a stage 1. It lets you attach a fighting energy from your hand to one of your fighting Pokemon. Seems kind of
Broken.
nutty. Seems kind of nutty.
It's an interesting card for sure. I think anytime you see anything with energy acceleration, you should kind of keep your eyes open, whether or not you have anything in mind for it, because this is going to be out in rotation for 3 years, and it'll be in GLC forever. So, you know, eventually there's going to be a card that this pairs really well with, if there isn't already.
Yeah. I think in standard, this is one of those cards that makes you want to look at every other fighting type in the format to see if there is any combo. I did the same kind of research for this in GLC to see if there's any like
Oh,
stage twos that have like these really
right.
hefty attack costs. And I couldn't really find anything because most of like these GLC or not GLC fighting as like a type, their identity is almost like low attack class, high
Yeah.
damage with like a drawback. And some of them,
Kind of like Haymaker.
yeah, exactly. Like a lot of
Yeah.
these ones I was seeing, I specifically looked at like stage twos and like the black and white on, because fighting doesn't really have any, except for Machamp, but I think that's just like a two attack cost. Two fighting, I think is just plain out what it is.
Yeah,
Um,
there are a handful of guys with like or 4 or 5 attack costs that are just objectively like you're never reaching that. I think that's probably like the best fit for something like this.
yeah.
There's like a Terrakion. I think that comes to my mind.
Well, I guess like another way to think about it, which I didn't really do, is there's some fighting Pokemon that have like really decent or like above average first attacks that are maybe like one or two energy, but then they might have like a second good attack that's more, and having like that dual
Yeah.
option of it that's now opened up because like those attacks powering them up, especially in fighting, it's such a big tempo loss, especially
Yeah.
whenever like fighting's identity now is you have like all of these basics that do like absurd damage or combo off of each other for like one or two energy. And if you're putting like three down on like, I don't know, some stage two, you probably already lost the game by the time you get to attack with it. If they're not just
Yeah.
like boss or Guzmaing it before you even get the chance to strike.
Yeah. I will say I did once win a game with Hitmonchan's Magnum Punch for 70 damage for 3.
In,
That was a huge tempo loss, though. You really got to pay for
in
that thing.
GLC,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Anything can happen.
That was a game you were always winning.
Not without Magnum Punch, though. No, but I totally agree. This is a huge way for fighting to get a lot of tempo back, and like I think we've seen kind of with the Okidogi Marshadow, like fighting's a lot more comfortable attaching energy now. Like I feel like back in the day they were so Hitmon combo like starved kind of that they were always attaching to those for turn and they were paying the retreats. Um, Now they have these monsters. Like for 2 energy, they can send them up and like get a few turns. Like usually Solrock can deal with like at least 1 turn. So um, this thing scares me a lot. It's gonna be looping Okidogis, without Raihan. It's gonna be powering up attacks and decks and archetypes that I didn't even know existed yet.
Yeah, I'm interested to see
It's gonna be
its
fun.
impact in GLC. I worry about the anti-synergy with Lumitone Solrock. You're gonna need 2, maybe 3 fighting energy in hand every turn. You already have a training court, so that solves one of the problems, but it'll be interesting to meet the requirements of both each turn if that's your game plan.
I think
Not
I
another
could see a
Yeah,
world
it's not too hard.
superior energy retrieval.
It's not too hard at all, but there will have to be a little shifting of how the deck is built to consistently do it.
another positive is that the Binacle of this, its first attack is just for one fighting, you get to draw two cards, which
I was just
seems
looking
like
at that.
it seems like pretty. It's 80 HP, so you can't like coffin for it, which probably means more in standard than
Virgil
Yeah,
GLC.
Bronx versus Chad Barber. What is it called? Binacle?
Binacle.
Binacle. But two cards off of like one fighting is like
Two's
kind of
Well,
crazy.
crazy. It is like insane power
that's
for you.
yeah, that's so much in GLC. Like, there's so many times you see people
Yeah.
running just a random basic with like suboptimal health or retreat just because its attack reads draw a card. It's,
Yeah.
you don't want to press it.
How many times I've collected with a Lowland Grimer
Exactly.
in Sable
Yeah,
Lock?
you don't
Those
want to press
two
it, but
get you far.
if you have to, it better be draw a card versus flip a coin if tails knock yourself out.
Yeah. It's also like 80 HP, which clears like a lot of the, I guess, big attackers
Donkers.
that people are hitting with turn one. Like Soul Rock can't knock it out. Iron,
He's not a buddy.
you can't buddy
Uh,
for it. What else are you
Fangrodom.
buddying for in fighting?
I don't think.
Good question.
Yeah, I don't think you're really
Nothing.
prioritizing that.
Yeah, I can't think of like, I guess you could get out like a Machop, but it's probably like a 70 HP Machop that you're playing.
Yeah, Riolu. I feel like
Riolu?
they're on the 80 HP Riolu now, though. Like, I think they
Yeah.
might have cut the buddy buddy.
Yeah, I think they're on the 80 because there's no reason for them to buddy. Their core
They
cards.
play like Artisan and stuff now.
Yeah, their core cards are too big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of anything
Yeah,
besides
so
those two. So it doesn't even matter that it's 80 HP. But it's
true.
clearing like so much. Like it's so hard to knock out turn one. So you can just push it to the active, attach fighting, and like just draw two. And like it's gonna be difficult for you to knock it out. And it only has two retreats, so like it's enough where if you attach that fighting energy on it, you could throw on like a U-turn board and just retreat it
Yeah.
out. Training court that back end and then attach. There's like it's a pretty good basic. And I can't imagine there's
True,
a more
true.
optimal one. I also presume that this is a Pokemon that only has like three cards ever.
Yeah, let's see. We got five Binacles to choose from. There's one that does 10 and draws one card, but it has three retreats.
No, that's good.
Two is the lowest retreat a Binacle has ever had. And there's one that can like flip a coin, I think, to dodge some damage.
No, I can't flip coins in 2026. I played Lugia V-Star. I can't flip coins anymore.
Dude, when they started running Mesagosa and Charizard, I couldn't fathom. I don't know why we're doing this.
As it goes, it
You're not
might
a
be.
Pokeball enjoyer?
I'm not gonna flip a card. Flip a coin. As it goes, it might be the
You play
worst card.
Thorns.
No, 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 no. That's
Your
different.
favorite deck is Iron Thorns. Is that not true?
I don't know if it's my favorite. It is the deck I have played the most games with.
Okay, well, I'll give him credit in that if you flip tails with Iron Thorns on your Pokemon catcher, it usually doesn't matter.
It's just like in Lugia, you flip a coin, and if you get tails, sometimes you just have to pick up your cards. In Iron Thorns, if you flip a tail, you just play like a second flip a coin card from him. Like
you flipping two coins is it feels a lot better.
there's some turns where I've slammed down three crushing hammers all in one turn, and I've hit tails on all three of them, and I just went along with my day.
Unbothered. Okay. Speaking of fighting, there's another card I'd like to talk about. It's this Tyrantrum. Now this is a fossil. It is a stage 2 fossil. But it's got the ability, tentatively translated as Tyranno Guts. If it has special energy, it gets 150 HP in addition to its 180 HP. So we're talking about 330 HP. And then for 2 energy, it does 160. And it mills until you get tails. This one was kind of divisive in our local chat. Like, I think it's cracked. Larry thought it was cracked. He was like, I'm sure this won't be a problem. And I kind of agree with him. This seems like a problem. It seems like a raid boss. and I am terrified to get milled while staring down a 330 HP single prize Pokemon.
I,
What do we think?
I think there are a lot of people that are really hesitant to back it up because it is a stage 2 fossil, and as we all know, fossils suck. But I think what we're like neglecting to look at in this scenario is that fighting in its current state right now is probably BDIF, and it runs on this like 50 card core. We have room to play, and
Yeah.
like maybe this the deck that is playing against your fighting deck is going to be able to go toe to toe with you, but eventually you're going to drop this Tyrantrum. And how do they deal with that? Or they could gust the fossil early, but now your Okidogi's still at full health and still good punching them. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's room to play with this. And there's obvious counterplay to it with Hex or just any sort of
It still has
disruption.
180 HP.
It still has 180 HP. You're probably putting a luxurious cape on it, which you can do,
No, don't say
which you
that,
can do
man.
while it's a fossil. So
True.
I Hitmon Bros
Key.
used to run 2 or 3 Pokedolls or whatever. I don't really see how this is that different. It's just that your Pokedoll can now have the ability to become a 330 HP Pokemon.
It's worth a prize, though.
It is worth a prize, but what's not what what's
It's
better?
like
Yeah,
zero board presence. It's kind of an advantage,
yeah.
I think.
What's better is if they decide to gust it to take a prize, and now they're down a gust, and you still have all your attackers and supporter
Yeah.
Pokemon. That
You kind of look
Yeah,
stupid
which
gusting a fossil.
are still like 2 energy requirement basics across the board for fighting. So it's not like we're a grass deck that needs 4 stage 2s now.
Yeah, I was kind of a big hater of this whenever it got released because I think I'm very anti stage twos in TLC. So I guess the whole ethos is like it has to win you the game outright for it to see play. But the more I think about it holistically with the whole line, like all parts of it are pretty good. Because like the fossil has like damage reduction. It's minus 30, but it still means that like you have to put in like a good amount of effort. You can't like send one of your bozos to like just knock this out.
Fan Rotom.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Uh
Solrock will hit through it, but like Hoopa doesn't. Does it have 60 or 70, the fossil?
it has 60
60.
minus 30 damage reduction.
Okay, okay. It's like a Hoopa will get there, but like a Spiritomb might not, sort of thing. That's, yeah. That's relevant.
And then like this Tyrant, its ability does 20 times each damage counter on it and has 100 HP. If you put a cape on it, this guy can just like nuke anything. And then like if you
Relincant is a fighting Pokemon.
it is like yeah, and I think the mill effect is actually the thing that might make this toxic. Because I playing against like our local Adam, where like he's a nice guy, but like it's so tilting whenever
He
he
plays
hits
Waterman.
off like the 3 cards that were a part of your game plan, and you're like, I'm not gonna scoop right now because like I can theoretically win. But like Mill is so good, not because like the effect is good, because you run so much recovery in most GLC decks. There's a way to like get stuff out of your discard anyways. But it's like that mental tax of seeing the top card of your deck go into the discard. And even if it's like not cards that actually matter, it's still like, ah oh, no, I that card might have opened up this play. And that like most of the mill cards you have like they're not doing that much damage. This is milling you, and
Yeah,
it's probably nuking your active as well, which
I
is so
I
busted.
I think that's the key thing too, right? Like normally you see a stage 2 like this with either a broken ability or a
160.
broken attack. It's very rarely both. And this is the whole package.
It's a mill wall damage nuke. 160 is like such a number now too. Like
Yeah.
I know it's kind of like that stage 2 threshold
Yeah, if you told
in my
me this
opinion.
thing's attack was like 2 energy, deal 300 damage and half of it back to yourself, I would believe you. Cuz that's usually how they print these cards.
Yeah.
This is a really good attack.
Yeah, if it did like 80 damage to itself,
Mhm.
I'd be like, yeah, this makes sense design wise. Not it mills until you get tails. That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh man.
um, yeah, I think fighting lists with Garganackle might start to pivot in this direction. Um, maybe a Barbaracle kind of angle with this thing. Um, it's terrifying, and I think if there ever was a stage 2 playable fossil, this has to be it. This absolutely has to be it. They cannot print a more busted
I would completely agree with that.
stage 2 fossil.
I was actually I'm one of the people that think that we could be a little more okay with a research lab unban. Not trying to get controversial, but seeing this, I know research lab doesn't affect this card, this fossil specifically, but yeah, we gotta keep the fossils down a little bit more. They're gonna keep printing them this good.
Yeah,
I think
they're tuning them up.
the idea of like X's counterplay for this, like there is now like a cost benefit analysis if you have this and then Okidogi on the bench,
Yes,
where it's
yes,
like
Yeah.
normally like you want to reserve that for that Okidogi, but now it's like if you hex this guy down, Okidogi is coming up from the ropes and like knocking out. It's this card kind of reminds me of like the special energy whale lord, where like if you have like all of those damage mods on it, it's kind of like you present it in the active and you tell your opponent like if you knock this out, you win the game outright. But like most decks just cannot knock it out because like the it takes a lot of effort to get it there.
Yeah.
But once you get it powered up, like it's taking at least like two, if not three prizes because it's
Yeah.
so much damage. And like the only decks that are easily able to take it out are Psychic isn't hitting those numbers and like
Yeah, it's like ones with like either outrageous damage, like kind of like the new fighting,
mm,
or
yeah,
even like Torcerdo is kind of a huge nuke, or if you can like cheat counters, damage counters onto it. That's I think why Psychic kind of gets away with
yeah.
it.
I hesitate to mention any relevant meta deck that can do this without a modifier consistently. Uh, I guess Thumping Snore
yeah.
180, but like, ugh,
That's a two shot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention you're already getting hit for weakness.
320 mil till I get tails.
No, it's really disgusting, and I wouldn't bet on it becoming a staple in fighting, but I can see there being two groups of thought when this comes out.
Yeah, I think this is a card that like if you can figure out how to make it work, it would be something worth rolling up to the I don't even know the full group game like 3 million K. I don't know how much our prize pools are right now, but
Yeah.
it's just like it's hard to think of ways to reliably get over this. And there is like a surefire way where the first turn you put this up, you can mill like the exact perfect cards, and instantly like win the game without any kind of like skill involved. And that's the thing with like mill decks is that like you just have to use like aura. It's like an aura check to see like who's
Yeah, it is. It is an aura check.
like who.
There's knowledge checks, there's like power checks, and then there's aura checks, and this thing is checking aura for sure.
Yeah, like if you just
It's like we
like
used to say, like, how are you gonna plan for
Yep.
Wailord? Like that was such a core tenet of deck building. I feel like it's a little less these days. Like we're more talking about like Dogi and kind of how are you
mm,
gonna like util or your way around it, kind of. But now it's gonna be what the heck is your Tyrantrum check? You
Yeah,
know, how are you hitting 330,
every
or are you just gonna two shot it like the rest of us?
everyone loves talking about that moment where you play a card and your opponent has to pick it up and read it. But if you have this card that you can instantly put down and your opponent just puts their hand over their head and you know they don't have an
Yeah.
answer to this, it's a pretty good card.
Oh yeah. Dude, would you max potion this and then just like barbaracle again to
I mean,
it?
I think you have so many tools because again,
Would you mallow and lana
yeah,
this thing? Like, what are we talking about? It's huge.
the core of the fighting deck is pretty bare bones and really strong. You don't necessarily even need to get this thing out to win the game more often than not with fighting. So, kind of
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah, speaking of stage 2 fossils, this did get released alongside a somewhat less notable but still pretty strong Aurorus. It's got 170, it's a stage 2 fossil again. Your water Pokemon with, or it's all your Pokemon with water energy attached take 50 less from your opponent's Pokemon. As well, for 3, it can swing for 150 and turn off the defending Pokemon's attacks for 1 turn. Um, so this is kind of like a passive wall effect. Uh, Water kind of has this like cloister mode that we see sometimes. What do we think?
I don't think it's gonna be that good.
Really?
It's a stage 2 fossil.
Because
I think it is like a stage two, but like there the two things about it is it's like the tankiness. Like I said, like a stage two has to win you the game outright. And I think like Tyrantrum can just win you the game outright. This one is I think the attack is like good in theory, but then you think about it and you're like, oh, I can just retreat out of it. And retreating in GLC is like not that difficult. Like in standard, it's like very difficult to retreat out of some scenarios, especially I
Yeah,
guess
I mean, I
once Turo's out or Penny. With this, you have like your U-turn board, you have this. If you can pair it with like retreat locking, maybe, but then
well, it does 150. Like you're probably knocking most things out with
that's
that.
another point.
Maybe less so these days,
I'm
but
I'm
like
surprised you think this because
I'm not too
you've
concerned with the
played my
attacks.
Cloister tank deck. That's just with a Cloister and Auroras alone, you're already at minus 130 damage.
130.
Yeah. So I agree. I don't think it's going to be that great. But I think if you wanted to roll with the tank damage archetype,
Unkillable.
there's a world where you can do this. You're going to you have Irida, you have a Beacon Vulpix to start rolling everything. You have Shady Dealings. Committing a candy to this is probably not going to feel the best, but if you get a Wailord that's going to be at minus 80 damage taken, it's a Titan minus 80, or Cloister minus 130 before tools and stadiums, that's kind of punishing. That's kind of hard to deal with, because again, they only have one Hex.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's like there's two ways of thought in evaluating cards, especially for GLC, and it is like the Mickey potential, where like I
High
think this
Mickey
is like
potential here.
I think this is like a great card
Huge.
if you are like I want like I hate whenever my Pokemon get knocked out, so I'm gonna build a deck where if I get all my goons, Like they're never dying. The whole crew will never die. And I think this is a really fun card in that.
But you've played that deck. You know that's how it
Yes, and I
runs.
think that is fun. I think the
Yeah.
deck is fun, and it is like it is definitely just like an out check. Like if you either have the outs
Yes.
or you don't.
Yes.
And but it is like very involved to get set up with that deck because you're not only managing like three stage one attackers, you also have like either the Frostmoth or the Excalibur, and then you're running the Inteleon. But the Inteleon also just wins you the game sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're adding like another stage
Yeah.
two to this,
It
and it's
it's
very
certainly a lot to
involved.
manage.
It's very involved, and like so much of your deck is Pokemon, and especially whenever they're like multi-stage Pokemon, there's so many times where you just have like the worst top deck ever because it's like the one middle or like last stage that you cannot use. And if you don't hit that ball guy like right off the rip, like sometimes you just want to pick up your cards and like go look through the bulk, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I think this is like
I
a two
felt that
card.
way. I felt that way.
Yeah, I think it's definitely high Mickey potential. It's not going to add to your Hydro Pump, Milo Pump, uh, high energy tier 1 water deck. But it will add to that tier 3 deck that everyone loves.
True.
I think this is like a good like Saturday regional GLC. Like you scrubbed out a standard
Yes.
and you're like, I need
Yes.
to like puff my chest a little. And it's just you and everybody else. And you just got bullied by like, I don't know, Gardevoir or like whatever the equivalent is post rotation. And you just want to like beat up on the Timmies or make sure the
Yeah.
Timmies like can't beat up your little guys. Like I think that's good. I don't know if I would bring this
Yeah.
to well, I guess like all regional GLC tournaments are now just like 3 rounds. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
it's
bring
really
this to
bad.
something with cash on the line if you want to win the
Right.
cash.
I would agree. I would agree.
Yeah, the regional GLCs, I will say, like, I've had some super fun games. Versus, like, Lunala, versus, like, Wheezing decks, versus, like, all sorts of awesome stuff. I played an insane game that was, like, Sableye versus Lunatone spread with Dusknoir. Um, Not the bomb Dusknoir, but the one that moves your count, like the counters on
Yeah.
your side of the board, your opponent's side of the board, I should say. Um, it was divine.
Uh,
I think we have
Um,
one more card left to discuss. The Meowth
yeah, quick
EX.
standard pivot. They reprinted Luminion.
Yeah, I hate this. Well, I think
yeah,
that like
Huge, huge
I'm not a
loss.
fan.
I I think like in I was a hater of Luminion towards the end in general because I think that like the skill of being like you pass the turn and you do everything you can to like create a board where they have to present boss to win and then being able to just say like, oh wait, I have an Ultra Ball in hand. Ultra Ball, like discard anything, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Luminion boss, and they just instantly win. I think that creates like really boring gameplay. But I think that like the supporters are gonna get a lot worse after rotation. And I think that it's gonna be really interesting in a vacuum in that way. Where we're losing like Iono, we're losing like Arven. Um, but the problem is that we are now going into an environment where you have boss is still around, and then we're stuck with like boss, I Lilies,
Judge.
Judge,
Lilies, yeah.
And it's like,
And then just like weird cards
yeah, like
after
weird
that.
weird supporters.
Drayton, and then like those cards you've never heard of. Serrano, I guess. Serrano's staying. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that's like Surging Sparks. Yeah.
So you're getting to a
Um,
scenario where you can just Meowth it down, and there's no way to like disrupt it and be like, oh, I'm gonna Iona you to one so you can't like Lumineon it out very easily. But now it's like with Meowth and Fez, it feels like it's if you whiff boss that last turn, like maybe you're just not built. Maybe you're just not lucky enough for Pokemon.
yeah. Supporters were not meant to be searched, IMO.
I am wondering how impactful this card will be, because it's 1-to-1 Luminion. The difference here is Forest Sealstone went on
Yeah.
Luminion, so it added another layer of value. And with the amount of spread cards that we have and limited bench space, it seems a lot less feasible to just commit a Meowth early to guarantee your setup. But that is kind of what the card does. Or you just close your game out with a Night Stretcher Meowth for boss. Um, yeah, I'm not a
I
fan.
imagine I imagine the decks that like really need their Arven secret box or like their Arven trolley will really like this card,
Mm-hmm.
or will want to commit this card early.
Don't have
Petrol
Arven.
Trolley. Well, Petrol. It's the same thing.
Petrol. Oh yeah, or Petrol. Oh right, because there's no
Yeah.
Arven.
Yeah,
Facts.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, get the Rockets Petrol and then get your secret
Yeah.
box. That's exactly what I
It
meant.
it's
Yeah,
functionally
okay.
the same thing.
Yeah, rest in peace, Arven. It's crazy this rotation for me because these are all the cards that I've not yet played the game without. Like I started when it was like Guardy, Roaring Moon,
Mm-hmm.
Charizard kind of vibes, and it's like, yeah, we lost Palkia, but I didn't really know Palkia. We lost Arceus, I didn't really know those people, you know. Um, but these are like, this is gonna be a big one. I don't know a world without Arven, without Iona.
Yeah, I'm personally I'm not expecting this Meowth to make as big of an impact as everyone's making out to be at current time. I think the most interesting thing is actually Meowth in like a Mega Kangaskhan Buffalant deck where it's going to be a little
Ooh,
beefier. But even
yeah.
then, we're kind of doing corny things and probably having Area Zero, so we might be this Noctowl deck that no one takes seriously in the first place. But Iono's gone, so maybe Noctowl decks get a little bit more clout.
True.
True, true.
God, I can't handle Noctowl decks being good.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying, especially because Terra as like a card mechanic is essentially not a card mechanic until they
Yeah.
made Noctowl.
No, it's pretty
Yeah,
boring. Yeah, it's just like a tag.
yeah,
Like the ancient and the future kind of like had identities beyond
a little bit.
just having bench barrier.
Yeah,
But yeah, like until Noctowl, there wasn't much like Terra identity. And then also this identity is just like for this high cost go, double quick search or whatever. Busted.
another leak card that I thought was interesting to consider if we're done with Meowth is actually the Lumiose City Stadium. Once for each
Okay.
player's turn, they may search their deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto their bench. Shuffle your deck, and if you do this, your turn ends. It's an interesting setup card in a rotation format that will no longer have Nest Ball. Obviously, we'll have Pokepag, but you can Pokepag and Lumiose and get two basic Megas, your basic Kangaskhans, your Bufalants, whatever you want. Um, I don't know how good it'll be because, again, rotation's a ways away. We have no idea what decks are going to be out. But the card itself would do a lot for any sort of big basic deck that just wants to set up because we don't have Nest Ball anymore.
Facts. Yeah, I think like this is a super good card to go first with. Um, like ending your turn, I think sounds a little worse than it actually
Right.
is, which is kind of strange to say. But like a lot of turns, you're just kind of you like you don't always need to engage. For example, with like a single prize board state, you don't always need to like put some damage on something just to get it down. Like you can just actually bide your turn, um,
Yeah.
build your resources a little
Yeah,
better.
because you see a lot of decks that just Badoo for turn, and that is much, much more different than just ending your turn. But if you don't fit Badoo into your deck and you can't do anything else, you're just going to end your turn. And that feels bad. Lumiose gets you something, and it's a stadium bump. I'm a big advocate of stadiums that should be required in decks. So, maybe we see more stadium wars, and Lumiose can be part of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, I I think it's a card worth considering because it is like on paper like one of the worst stadiums in a while. But you think about like what the stadium environment is going to look like post rotation, and it's like we don't have Artisan, we don't have like Beach Court, which is like a card that was played a lot in the olden days.
Yeah,
We have like you have like Battle Cage, whatever. You have
it's
like
like all stadiums that you want to bump
yeah, like you need something like
because we're
bump
losing the
stadiums.
Artisan, we're losing the Mesa Goza.
Yeah, I think it like decks are also going to get like a lot more inconsistent without Arvin and like without Iona. Because like the one benefit of Iono is that like you're always seeing six new cards. So there's so many times where you're just like playing down your first hand and then you just need to see six more to play the game. And now like you can play that down. Most decks are not like attacking turn one, especially now that we don't have any of the TMs. Like you're not
Mm-hmm.
evoing, you're not energizing, but like maybe like you crispin onto like Mega Kangaskhan and you're like F it, I'll just like play down this Lumiose, grab like a Buffalon, grab like a whatever.
Yeah,
Um, and like now the thing about it is that like if you're gonna play it, if your opponent clicks that button also, like they're
Yes.
not attacking as well. So there is like a like playing a chicken game, I guess. It's a very strong
yeah,
like
kind
turn
of a
one.
gambit. Yeah,
Yeah,
It's a
I
very
mean,
like
there
turn one.
we've all been in that game where we have to hit the opponent's Pokestop or Messagoza because
Mhm.
we lose the game without it, and we still lose the game because we flip tails or hit three supporters off our Pokestop. But sometimes you just have to take the hit on that stadium, and that's just your one Pokemon on your bench ahead of your opponent if they have to hit your Lumiose.
Yeah.
yeah. I think any stadium where it's like a question whether or not you want to interact with it is always like kind of good design.
Yeah.
Um, I like I think disruption is good on stadiums too, just because it like forces you to engage with stadiums. But I don't think like on its own, for example, like Path to the Peak is like that brilliant or like interesting or exciting.
Right. I think that's about it for the interesting cards.
Yeah. Now this has been a thorough review. Um, we got some lists. We might look at a few. We're going a little overtime, but we went a lot overtime last time, so I think we're doing okay. um, We got some lists from some recent webcam tournaments on the TurboBlaze Discord server as well as the Cardboard Warriors server. Um, all these tournaments had at least 10 people, and these are all winning lists. Some of them had like 16 in the range, or like almost 20. Um, and we got some notable ones. In particular, we wanted to highlight this electric bombs list, I believe they're calling it. Um, so still kind of out with like a real catchy name. We're still waiting on the real name, I think. But this is like Call Signal Magneton with Bizap Thunder Electrode. We'll either put it on screen or we'll link you in the description. But this kind of made a wave in one of the, I think it was Cardboard Warriors server tournaments. And I believe as well they often do these like bounties on prizing where it's like highest placing fairy deck wins this like cool fairy card, or like highest placing deck with like Pikachu in it wins this full art Pikachu. So then you're like forced to build something kind of funny. I think this deck was low key built to chase a bunch of those bounties. I could be wrong about that, but
I know for a fact.
in any case,
I know for a fact
it's strong.
the tournament it won, it replaced one of its two basic lightning energy for circuitry, which was not a good card, and it didn't really do anything in the identity of this deck. So there's certainly at least some truth to just a bounty deck, and it still won that tournament, being down one card. So I think that says a lot about the deck.
Yeah, you built this. You have this built,
I
and we
did.
tested
I
it.
did. And I thoroughly misplayed. I think I should have gone 2-0 against you, but it's speculation because it is a complex deck. It's a very, very thought-intensive deck that I just put together. But I was really drawn to it because it runs a lot of the same concepts and combos as my Phoenix Fire deck, and so right away I had to build it and run it, and it's just so consistent. It's insanely consistent for a deck that you're going to look at and think this is really funny. I bet
This is a
I
pile,
bet it would
yeah.
be funny to play and hit this combo 1 out of 10 times, but
No.
I think like close to 50% of the time I can get a turn 2 Electivire.
Yeah. Call signal with Surge is so powerful. It's hard to like describe.
Austin, you had some thoughts on this deck this morning when we were discussing it. Where are you at with it now?
Yeah, I think this is one of those decks where so I guess like maybe some background. I have played like a lot of lightning decks borrowed from people. So I played like a lot of permutations, and I think like the deck feels really powerful, or the type feels really powerful like at the deck creation. But once you like get it in your hands, like it feels so bad. But this list is like really intriguing because the more I look at it, the more I see like two or three cards, and I'm like, oh, these three cards in combination like can
Yeah.
probably win you some games outright. I think it's like the same idea as like the Whale Lord or like the Tyrantrum, where there's like some GLC decks that just like present a threat and you either have to have an answer to it or not. And I think like a turn to Electivire where it's doing like 50 to everything is kind of like that level of threat.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
and I
that's a good way to put it too, because more
Yeah.
often than not, it's going to be some combination of, hey, this is my deck. This is the threat. Can you deal with it by whatever turn comes up? Will you have the hand size to deal with it? And what this deck does really well is not only does it come up turn 2 right away, I'm probably going to throw some hand disruption at you. So your hand's going to be cut in half at most. I could put your hand down to 0 before the end of my turn. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that can happen when you play Surge, which is the most interesting part of Surge.
Yeah.
It's David, as a Sableye player, you'll know that the second you play the Surge, all these branching paths start opening, and
Yep.
if you can Magneton,
It's crazy,
if you
yeah.
can Magneton for the other two supporters, suddenly every
Right.
play in the game is at your
Instantly
disposal. Yeah.
accessible. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, like a couple cards I think worth highlighting in here are like um, greens can, once you explode your Magneton, you probably have no more abilities in play. Greens gets you any two trainer cards. Hilda can get you the Electivire and the special energy. So just on one supporter, we're talking about like your Electivire and reversal's guaranteed, counter is guaranteed. Your Electivire is taken care of already. So like once you play the Hilda, just start thinking about like what else do we want to do? Do we want to set up more, get Blitzel and Zebstrika ready? Do we want to start hand ripping? Do we want to like Arvin or red card and like just grab a tool for the pivot? Like it's uh, it's super insane to just have so much power on that one turn. And I really like this deck for its identity as well. Like, super fast. I think Canary is going to go nutty in this deck, which is the upcoming, I think, discard one card, search for Lightning Pokemon supporter. That's going to be like, if they rip that thing and just pass, like, you better end them stat. And even if you do, like, you know, be scared.
I think like another really intriguing thing about this deck is like you kind of need to have like an explosive turn one, but if you get like somewhat set up, like you have a lot of threats that you can set up fairly quickly. And I think it's like there's this general idea where it's like anytime you're knocking out your own Pokemon, you're doing something very strong. Um,
Yeah.
which like of course a lot of that is because of like the environment of the format. So like right now, like the issue with Dusknoir is because Countercatcher is also in format. So you have like these
Yeah.
really nasty like Dusknoir Countercatcher plays. But in GLC, like not only do you have Countercatcher, you have like Counter Gain, which is also in standard,
Yeah.
but you have like Ace Trainer, I
Counter
think like
energy.
procs off of it from what I remember. I don't know if it's a is it less? Yeah,
Less
it's
prices.
just zero less.
Surge, of
Yeah.
course,
Yeah,
goes without saying. Lieutenant Surge.
yeah, Surge. You also have like
Counter
counter
energy.
energy, you
Reversal energy.
reversal. Your Luxray also procs off of it. So like just adding all
Yep.
these together, you just have so many different outs to like you knock it out. You're doing something very productive. Either you're getting like all your supporters, or you're just attaching like two lightning to something. And then
Yep.
you open up like all of these divergent plays that you can have. Um, and like you kind of have like two branches, I guess you kind of have to set up this Electivire, where it's either you can go like Buzz App, Thunder, or you can use like this call signal, like supporter shenanigans. And I guess like a whole other aspect is like you don't necessarily need Surge to have your out to it. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you'll just have it raw in hand, and then
Yep.
you can use Surge to like take the two most devastating cards
Hmm.
to your opponent and just like
Yeah.
rip them off. And
Yeah.
then I think like another aspect is like if you can't go that Electivire route either through like Rising or whatever. Of course, you have like Gladion that can like be your out. You also have like this other divergent like Luxray play, or you can just set up Disconnect Luxio. there's like a lot of these really interesting like divergent like
I
control things.
I think the Luxio Luxray thing is low-key one of the more interesting parts of this deck because we can turn one going second Luxio disconnect, which is just Badoo on a bigger Pokemon because of evolutionary advantage Shinx and shut off abilities or shut off
Um,
items, which is not the best in GLC, but it's better than nothing. Yeah,
it's pretty strong, I
but
think.
from there too, we have a number of things we can do. We can evolve the Luxio into Luxray. We can just throw a Luxray onto our bench, have it
Yeah,
attack till it gets knocked out, rescue stretcher it, and evolve our Luxio because it's just already there. And it's really a disgusting set of three cards that open up a lot of options. I think the most interesting thing just being Luxray's hitting 180 on functionally a basic in this deck.
yeah,
That's really, really strong.
yeah. Because once you put it down, like reversal might turn off, but Luxray doesn't go
Yeah.
anywhere. So you only have to be behind on prizes once to like get that value. And as well, like having Luxio, maybe you have that thing on deck for when your Luxray gets out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Night Stretcher, smack it back down.
Yep.
If you're not behind on prizes, you have the Luxio right there.
Yep.
Super scary.
And so
180 is a lot.
So a leak for Austin here. I fully respect whoever made this deck. It's amazing. My thoughts on it. I didn't like the Gladion. I'm a huge Gladion hater. I ended up.
Gladian?
I think we can get the prizes without it. So I ended up cutting Gladion
That's fair.
and N. I cut Gladion and N for Thornton and Night Stretcher. My logic on that is I want to run the Thornton and go straight back into another Magneton, Electrode, or Electivire. We're bringing in Reset Stamp and Red Card. Those are item disruption cards. I don't need N for that. So
Yeah,
it just
that's good. Yeah,
I'm just gonna Pal Pag my Surge and something else back in. I'll greens Reset Stamp and something else, and then throw a Hex out. There's a ton of combo potential with this deck, and I think that decks like this are always the most interesting because we don't see things like this a lot. We stick to the performing archetypes, the tried and true, and we kind of build off it. We look at this card looks like it could be good for fighting. We can slot it in into the current BDIF, or this is obviously a good psychic card. We'll replace this with that.
yeah.
But
I think yeah, and a lot of it too is like what is bulk? You know,
yeah,
like the stage one is bulk because it's a stage one. The stage two, like you got to be crazy to be a stage two, and you got to have the busted stage one, and you might even need like a kind of busted basic,
yeah, and
or at least a buddy.
there's so many cards in the GLC format that there are going to be millions of iterations of 60 cards that can perform, and we're just not seeing them because we're stuck on Hydro Pump whales, which is fine. It's hard to create a deck, but there's so many underexplored types, archetypes, just cards in general that we could do so much with. I'm a big
Yeah,
fan of Lieutenant Surge in attacking decks. I think there's a whole world out there once we start doing it more.
yeah, absolutely.
I think like another aspect of this deck that's just so intriguing is that it is like this kind of aggro-y control deck. Like it's
Yes.
a deck that can play both ways, where either you can go super hard, I'm going
The
to present Electivire, 50 to everything,
Luxgate.
what's your response?
the
But then
TCG player
you
brain
also,
can't handle it.
yeah, I think that like you have these other, like, okay, I can't get my Electivire, but you can then go into like your Luxio item lock and then just kind of hammer them with a lot of these really difficult to deal with supporters. The
Yeah,
Zerosics, I think, is like really interesting with like how
yeah,
much like Psychic is having these disgusting hand sizes.
Yeah.
There's a couple that's
Fighting's getting out of control
true.
with their hands. I've seen
there
some nuts
there's
stuff.
there's a world where you can win a game with this deck without attacking. Like you can have a
Yeah.
terrible setup, Ethan's Pichu and Magneton, and just say, you know, I'm in a bad spot. I'm going to Magneton for Surge, Zerosic, and Delinquent. You now have 0 cards in your hand, no energy on bench. Pichu's going to hit you for 30, and I'm going to draw a card. What's your response?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful deck.
Yeah, totally.
I think like Green's
Um,
Exploration is like one of the best feeling cards I
mm,
think in the entire format to play. And like so many of the top decks are these kind of like this I guess like potpourri of like all the broken abilities in the type. Where
yeah.
like the fun thing about Electric is that like of course like once you have like the Sprint Zip Strika, it's kind of there. But there's so much of it where like if you rip off Green's Exploration turn one, like nothing feels better. Because you're just grabbing like any two cards.
It's a pretty good
Um,
VS Seeker target, too.
yeah, that's a whole other thing. Is that it's just like I like a deck like this. It kind of reminds me of like Snorlax Stall is one of those decks where you just kind of present
Yeah.
something and you just have like all these lines to do like very annoying things. Um,
Right. Outside of that.
but I think with this, like you because you can't just run like a quad deck in GLC, like you have to find like these alternate lines. I think that's kind of like why control like struggles in GLC sometimes is because you have to have all these lines, but also your opponent also can just throw in all of these different things to account for.
Yeah, you
But
have to pull out 4 different lines out of like 100 every night, whereas your opponent only has to pull out one against you, and then they're gonna play Psychic the other 3 games.
yeah, but I think that like this is like a really interesting because you can almost just play this like a normal electric deck. You have like your Tapu
Yeah.
Koko Electivire spread package, but like Lightning Spread has problems closing out games in my experience. Uh, I think we also like just run a lot of bench barrier at locals. Yeah, there's a lot of psychic and there's a lot of fighting that both are running it. Um, but they're not throwing that down
Yeah.
turn one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
It's kind of a philosophy of like win the game before you have to close it
I'm
out.
wondering how much bench barrier there is anymore. If a lot of people are playing RDT over Tinglu fighting, I haven't been paying that much attention.
T stands for Tinglu, by the
Yeah,
way.
I haven't been paying that much
But
attention.
you mean like Hitman Bros, like Machamp,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
kind of more traditional.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because it's like Machamp looks a little. He's on fraud watch. I'll say that. Machamp is on fraud
yeah.
watch.
Because in my opinion, we have 5, 6 other types that don't have a bench barrier that can still win games.
Yeah,
It's very difficult against Lightning Strike. I'll tell you that right now. But it's like eventually they're going to Hex or Silent Lab you, and they're still
yeah.
going to get their damage off. So
Okay, yeah.
the bench barrier is a band aid.
Call signal, Hilda
Yep.
Hex. You're there.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I guess like you probably only need to get off Electivire high voltage current twice to win most games.
Right. If
Most
it goes
games.
unanswered twice, it's like, yeah,
Yeah. And
Especially if you're doing it turn two. Like if you're able to open it turn two,
yeah.
and then especially if you're able to turn two, do it, and then also throw down Hex the same turn. Like I just
yeah.
don't know
Or like
many decks.
Luxcape, yeah.
I don't know many decks that can deal with that.
Yeah, and what you don't
Right.
finish off, Tapu Koko's still there, very
True.
easily power uh, 2 energy. It's kind of nothing.
Yeah. That was our one of our games we tested. Like, I was in this after two electivires. I was in this kind of like checkmate under Coco. Actually, that was like no matter who I had Scoop Up Net on, I had no way to prevent. I had like Monkey and Scoop Up Net maybe, and like even no matter how I did it, it was not dodging the Coco. So um, super scary and like uh, super unique deck.
Yeah, I think people have to be a little more willing to go crazy with it. You know, we're looking for these like super consistent, super optimal, guaranteed. I'm gonna swing for 160 every turn lines, but there are a lot of really strong cards that aren't Pokemon. We could do a lot more.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see how Electric kind of like shakes out in the next year, especially with this Kanari. Um, I feel like it's kind of one of those like edge types that's gonna see some new power and it's gonna creep up those tiers pretty quickly here. I think. Absolutely. We have a few more lists, and for the sake of time, we're gonna give them quick shout outs because I think they're cool. Um, First is this colorless birds. This is playing the Noivern, which lets you ignore your energy costs at equal hand size. It's got every bird. It's all birds. We got the Swellow, um, really utilizing the Ignition, the Hilda, as we have like this triple colorless now. Um, as well, I found an Eggmill list that cuts Venomoth for like Maractus and Defiant Vest, it looks like. I like this list because like something that resonated with me that I think Espio was talking about. Shouts to Elvin Espio. He was saying like it adds this dimension to the deck that just wasn't there before, where Venomoth was kind of like Badoo Insurance. They both item lock and they both do roughly the same thing for Eggmill. But Maractus kind of opens this whole new dimension, which is retreat lock. Throw this Defiant Vest on it, just wall stuff out like crazy. Um, and one more was just this like super refined, super lean Iron Boulder list. This is like pretty stock standard. It's got the Blacephalon, it's got the Dark Energies. Cut your Crispins, you don't need them. Just uh, just go crazy with and just have it. Just have it.
I'm so sick of the Iron Boulder, man.
This just looks like ruthless. I don't know what to say. Psychic's really. I feel like they're honing their edge this year.
Yeah, the big decks in GLC are just getting stronger and getting more consistent. It's very oppressive, which is why things like this Lightning list make me so excited, because anything can win. Anything can win the GLC event.
One note on the bird deck. I really like the path of going with the fighting energy as opposed to the other ones. I think like the martial arts dojo is like a really interesting kind of inclusion.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
I love martial arts dojo.
That's kind of swag with the power up your Swellow attacks.
Yeah, I
Take
think
two.
It's so funny.
This Swellow, by the way, has like the ancient trait that lets you take two prizes, like your name was Iron Hands.
yeah, it's fixes some like really interesting math probably. I think if I went through the entire list and like thought about where that extra damage would go around,
Yeah,
it probably is interesting. I think that like a lot of in colorless, like what energy type they decide to use is always really interesting.
yeah, absolutely. Maybe the gutsy pickaxe coming up at some point. You never know. A little primate wisdom.
Now we might be cooking a little too much, pulling the gutsy pickaxe out.
Yeah. But those are my quick shoutouts. These are some nice lists. If you're interested in any of these archetypes, like we'll have them linked, and I think I could say give any of these a shot. They look cool. They look clean. GLC's in a good place, but I do love building. I think we want to see more. This is something that we gotta get set up, but we might have submissions. Perhaps in the description there may be like an email. You can email us your deck lists. We want to see some Mickey shit. Okay, we want it to be. This is the clubhouse. It's all things Mickey. We want to see things we've never seen before. Take us down. Take us into deep waters and show us, what you're working with.
Yeah, I think there's nothing more interesting than seeing a list, saying this is terrible, and sitting with it longer, and then figuring it out, finding the lines.
Yeah.
Because that's the best part of playing. It's just a new puzzle in front of you every time, and you gotta figure out the puzzle before you play the deck.
Yeah, send us something good, or send us something interesting, and maybe we'll talk about it for 20 minutes, like we did with the bombs deck.
The
The bomb stick's crazy.
bomb deck deserves
It's
more
good.
time. It'll get more time.
Yeah.
I almost, whenever you guys sent it to me, I almost did just put it all into my cart and just buy it straight off the rip.
You
Well, I
can
have most of the cards.
you
I
can,
still can.
or you'll just borrow it from me after I badge on Thursday with it.
True.
Ooh.
Yeah.
True.
I think we're overdue for a lightning badge at this point. I think it's like one of the few types.
We're overdue for a lot. It's kind of been gross lately.
Yeah,
Predictions for our locals specifically.
I think
Who's badging?
like everybody.
What color's badging?
Everybody has like their colorless. Everybody who's been getting all the badges has their like psychic and fighting ones already.
Right.
Yeah,
They have like the two OP decks they have built. They won with them already.
But I think
And
what's
if you have three like busted decks built, you're a tryhard.
I think what's somewhat telling about the format right now too is our strong players have their psychic and fighting badges or whatever, but they haven't badged with any other type yet because the rest of the room is still psychic and fighting that are taking the badges. That's not anything to
True.
knock the players on, but these decks are powerful. These decks are very hard to break through if you're not one of them. And hard to
Yeah.
break through 4 times in a row.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think our local batch is like a 5-way tie for first place, and like everybody has 2
Yep.
badges.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised. I don't have it pulled up. I wouldn't be surprised if almost everybody has either fighting and psychic, and I think the other ones are like only colorless and dragon.
Yeah. I was looking at it's a lot of fighting badges. A lot.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think there's a single badge that you would look at and say, I wonder what they played.
yeah. I think somebody has it.
I wonder what archetype that
Yeah, exactly.
blank
Yeah.
deck was. Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's okay. It is a little disappointing when you see half the room playing the same type, but we gotta adapt and overcome.
Yeah, I think our locals are definitely in our try-hard era, where like a lot of the players are who have gotten their badges already are at the point where they're trying to metagame it and like bring metal or bring. Um, I'm
Dragon.
surprised at how many people are not bringing dragon. I guess like
It's
dragon's like kind of not the
It's
cool
like
thing
not
yeah,
anymore.
it's kind of a chore.
It's low-key
It's
not
kind of a
fun.
chore, kind of a flow chart. It's good deck,
Yeah, but
but
if you're jonesing for a badge, like you're fiending for one, why wouldn't you just bring the flowchart deck?
I
Like,
I actually have a little conspiracy theory on the metal players.
So
I
you're
think they're paying attention to the weeks I'm not going, and they try to get their metal badge from the fire players out of the room.
I mean, you just gotta dodge one
you know
guy.
you're down bad when you're bringing Dragon to locals.
You just gotta go 1-0. If you go like 1-0 or 2-0, you dodged all the fire players already. So
This season, that's true for sure.
true. We don't have like any 4-0 fire no badges anymore.
Amen for that.
Yeah, for people not exclusive to our locals, you're listening out there. Thank you. But our last season, we have so many people that consistently show up for GLC, but we can only host 4 rounds in the amount of time the store is open. So that led to a lot of people, more than one person, going 4-0 in a night. And we decided only the person in first off resistance got a badge.
Yeah. 4-0 bubble.
4-0 bubble.
XO bubble.
Oh, uh,
First place bubble. It was crazy.
I have a 4-0 bubble with fire, and I'm proud
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now we badge, as of this season, we started badging all the 4-0s. So if there's a 4-0 bubble, everyone gets a badge. So it's a little more equitable now, I'd say. I lobbied for this change. I'm glad they made it.
I Now that we're like halfway through, we'll get into 4-0 badge discourse now, why not? Now that we're like
Yeah.
halfway through
30
this
more minutes.
now that we're like halfway through the season, I did the math. Or I went through the statistics of who has badges, and it's like everybody who bubbled out and got like the Mickey badge as we call it. The
Yeah.
4-0 second in resistance. They were able to get a non-Mickey badge. And like the one person who doesn't, like
Facts, yeah.
the chances of the person who didn't get it getting another badge is like fairly high. So it's like
Mm.
I think it all comes out in the wash. Like it doesn't actually matter that
Yeah.
much. And also like most of the time we don't have multiple 4-0 badges. Because it's normally like table one is a 2-3-0s and table two is like a 2-1
A
and a
down pair.
3-0.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
don't get that many.
And they don't always win. Right, right.
And there's actually like so many times uh where there's a lot of ties. And I think that's like the thing that's actually stopping it.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
I will
Even
say,
though
as far as the data analysis goes, I think it will be very interesting anecdotal results if there is a tie for the winner at the end of the season on number of badges, and one of
Then we start
yeah,
counting
and
Mickey.
one of those
How
players
many of
has a
those
Mickey
badges are
badge,
Mickey for sure?
because
Yep, yep.
I wouldn't
Count
I
them.
wouldn't bring it up, but I can see
no, I
someone
would.
else. I can see someone else bringing it
If I
up.
was in a
Yeah,
five-way
yeah.
tie.
No, someone's gonna pull through. But I think that's like the
I
one
believe
thing
it.
that does the one thing about it is that like pretty much everybody who has a badge, or I would say everybody who has a badge right now, is like a skilled player. Like it takes a lot for you to it's hard to luck your way into a badge. Like you have to do 4 games in a row of like performing well, and like it's really hard to like luck stack your way 4 times in a row in GLC.
Yeah.
And like
You gotta
everybody
play like at least 2 real games.
and the people who are like not in that 5-way tie, like they perform really well like every week for the most part. And there's a lot of people who don't have badges who are like consistently like 3-1ers. Like there's
Mm.
I think it's like the types are strong at the top, but it's all like coming out even in the end. So I think that like begrudgingly probably giving out badges to everybody who goes 4-0 like
It's fine.
is probably better. Like it doesn't matter that
It
much.
was always fine.
But
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the reveal whenever standings go up and you get to see
Yeah.
who got the Mickey badge.
There's a lot of showmanship to 4-0, only one of them gets the badge. There
Yeah,
is
Yeah,
there is a little less so
it's
there's a
drama.
little less so knowing that two people are getting the badge, but let's see which one is real or not.
well, I think it's like
As someone who co-badged early this season, I feel winning together with someone else is like pretty pog champ in my opinion. It feels good.
I,
yeah,
I can't refute that. I think the trade off of saying that we have to deny someone a badge is just probably not worth it ever. But I do think it's funny.
yeah. It is like it was like a very fun atmosphere from somebody on the outside to see like the crash outs whenever because I if I was in their spot, I would be crashing out. But like it doesn't really matter. And I think that like the resistance, the because there is so much variance in GLC, like there is skill in the variance, but your variance is now in other people's hands. It's like with like League of
Yeah,
Legends is maybe the analogy where like you can do everything perfect and you lose the game because like your mid laner is like learning to play Zed for the first time or Yasuo and
yeah,
like you're doing perfect. Like you're getting like pentakills left and right, but they're like feeding so hard that it doesn't matter. And that's like kind of how
yeah,
resistance can work.
Well,
Where like
in my I completely agree with that. But in my opinion,
yeah. The best you can do in a
yeah,
tournament is win every game, of
yeah,
yeah,
course.
I think that that while that statement is completely true, we have to kind of just like remove the results from it and just look at our own play because that's what we
yeah,
can control. And if you can play yourself to 4-0 off just your skill and knowledge alone, you could do it again. And I think at the end of the day, you have to take the satisfaction from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if you want to talk
yeah.
about the store credit
Y'all.
you're losing bubbling from first to second,
No,
that's a valid argument.
this is getting hyper local.
No, the stored credit does matter.
We're doxing ourselves. We can't dox ourselves yet.
Well, I think we already did. But the
No, it's fine. It's fine.
the winner of the badges, I think they got like a prismatic like ETB or they got something good. The winner of the playoffs. We
It
have,
was all clout.
Oh
It
yeah.
was clout.
no, I
The
think
cloud is it
Yeah.
goes crazy. We had some custom mats as well
yeah,
that were
yeah,
just
yeah.
like last season they were the most beautiful play mats I've ever seen in
Yeah.
my life.
That actually did kind of
Um,
make me mad for all the weeks I look back on just punting the week.
right. I know. I know. I would have tried a little harder. I
Oh
would
yeah.
have brought dragons in. What the heck?
And then I think in season
Now I
one,
know it's on the line.
they got like a full on trophy.
Yeah.
So it's like there's some good swag. There's stuff on the line. Like we all say
Yeah.
like these badges don't matter, but like if I'm leading the badge race by like two, and like Mickey badges start coming out left and right, like I'm like a rat in a cage.
I
I,
can't deny that. That's tough.
like
You
I love a
It's 4-0.
trinket.
It's fine.
Like I love like a stupid trinket like that. And if like my little trinket was like about ready to be taken from me because of like everybody else getting their dragon badges or whatever. Like the new type that became broken after I just got a badge for it and everybody else is getting it now. I would be I'd be crashing out in general every single day.
Yeah. No, I feel that. All right,
Well,
y'all.
I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah.
a lot of good discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's been a banger episode of the Clubhouse.
Yeah.
It was an absolute pleasure to have Kyle, aka Scallion, on the podcast. We're looking for more guests. So DM us your resume.
For real.
Um,
We'll do
we're going
tryouts.
to be pretty selective here. Yeah. Send us your lists. And as well, I want to just quickly bring up that 80% of our viewers from the first podcast were not even subscribed to Double Square. Which, to be fair, it's just my like YouTube channel. But if you hit that subscribe button, we might get boosted in the algorithm, and we could be a real podcast one day. I think.
For real.
So hit it, hit like, share with your friends.
The more that you like and subscribe, the more incentivized we will be to trim these episodes.
Yeah, we might even like get some nice editing and stuff. We might even like show things on screen what we're talking
Make a
about. That would
proper
go
a proper
crazy.
script and schedule.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have a good schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're bi-weekly. We're
No, we're on time
bi-weekly.
this week. We're on
Okay.
time. Bi-weekly. Because it's not even, we're recording this so early, we're not even going to say how early. We're just going to let you guess, I guess. But yeah, we're on time. Nah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Any last words, final
No,
thoughts?
thank you for having me. Love yapping about GLC, Pokemon, hang out with buddies, and I hope to be back soon.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. Thank you all for enjoying this podcast. Have an excellent rest of your day, rest of your night.
Bye.